Dad, you're embarrassing us with this junk. Derek grabbed the antique pocket watch from my hand and held it up like a piece of garbage in the middle of the country club dining room. His voice echoed across the elegant space. A rusty old watch for my daughter's birthday? We spent $40,000 on this party, and you show up with something from a pawn shop. He dropped it onto the tablecloth like it was worthless. The glass face cracked against the fine china plate. 50 guests turned to stare. My granddaughter Emma's eyes filled with tears. But what Derek did not know was that the company he ran, the mansion he lived in, and every cent in his bank account still belonged to me. And tomorrow morning, I would take it all back. I am Walter Hayes. I built Hayes Construction from a single shovel and a pickup truck into a $200 million empire. This is how I taught my ungrateful son the most expensive lesson of his life. If you have ever been humiliated by someone you loved, stay with me. Hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments if you have ever had to cut off a toxic family member. The ballroom of the Denver Country Club sparkled with crystal chandeliers and imported flowers. Pink and gold balloons floated above every table. A 5-tier cake shaped like a princess castle dominated the center of the room. It was Emma's 8th birthday, and my son had turned it into a networking event for his business partners. I sat at the far end of the family table, dressed in my old navy suit. The fabric was worn at the cuffs, a relic from better days. Around me, men in designer clothes discussed stock portfolios and golf handicaps. Their wives dripped with diamonds and disdain. Derek sat at the head of the table like a king on his throne. He had put on weight since taking over the company 3 years ago. His face was flushed from expensive wine. His wife Monica sat beside him, scrolling through her phone, bored by the celebration she had planned for her own daughter, Grandpa. Emma tugged at my sleeve. Her eyes were bright with excitement. "Did you bring me something special?" I reached into my jacket pocket. My fingers touched the smooth brass case, worn down by generations of hands. I pulled out the pocket watch that my own grandfather had given me 60 years ago. It had survived the Depression. It had timed the first foundation I ever poured. It had marked the hour when my wife took her last breath. "This belonged to your great-great-grandfather," I said softly. "He carried it when he came to America with nothing but hope. He passed it to your great-grandfather, who passed it to your grandfather, who passed it to me. Now I am passing it to you, Emma. It does not tell perfect time anymore, but it tells a perfect story." Emma's face lit up. She reached for it with both hands. That was when Derek snatched it away. The room went quiet. Derek examined the watch with theatrical disgust, turning it over in his manicured fingers. "This is what you bring to a $40,000 party?" He laughed, looking around at his guests for approval. "A broken watch that belongs in a museum? Dad, this is pathetic. Even for you." He dropped it onto my plate. The crystal face shattered against the bone china. I stared at the broken glass. I stared at the watch that had survived 100 years of history, destroyed in 1 second of arrogance. Derek leaned closer. His breath smelled like champagne and cruelty. "You need to stay home from now on," he hissed. "You embarrass me. You embarrass this family. That little apartment we let you live in? Consider it your world. Do not come out unless I call you." Monica giggled behind her hand. Some of the guests shifted uncomfortably. Most of them smiled along with Derek because that was what people did when they wanted to stay in his good graces. I looked at Emma. She was crying silently, her birthday ruined. I stood up slowly. My knees ached, but I kept my back straight. "Where are you going?" Derek demanded. "The party is not over. I am going home," I said quietly. "I have had enough celebration for one night." Derek rolled his eyes. "Fine. Walk. It is only 4 miles. Maybe the exercise will clear your head. You have been confused lately, Dad. Forgetting things. Acting strange. We have been talking about getting you some help." The threat was clear. He was laying the groundwork to declare me incompetent. He had been doing it for months, mentioning my forgetfulness to business partners, suggesting that age was catching up with me. He was building a case to take complete control. I walked out of the ballroom. I walked through the marble lobby, past the valets who looked at me with pity. I walked into the cold Denver night, But I was not walking toward defeat. I was walking toward war. When I handed the company to Derek 3 years ago, I was tired. My wife Catherine had died, and the fight had gone out of me. I wanted to rest. I wanted to spend time with my granddaughter. I wanted to believe that my son would carry on the legacy I had built. I made one condition: take care of the business and take care of me. Treat me with respect, and everything will be yours when I die. Derek had cried when he signed the papers. He had hugged me. He had promised. What Derek did not understand was that I had not given him ownership. I had given him stewardship. The Hayes family trust still controlled everything. The company, the properties, the bank accounts, the mansion he lived in. Derek was the beneficiary. I was the grantor. And buried deep in Section 12 of the trust document was a clause my lawyer Patterson had insisted on: the doomsday provision. If the beneficiary demonstrated gross misconduct, the grantor could revoke all privileges with a single phone call. I reached my apartment at midnight. It was a converted space above the old warehouse where I had started the company 40 years ago. Derek called it my retirement gift. It was actually a storage room he had cleared out to keep me close but invisible. I sat on the narrow bed. I looked at the cracked face of the pocket watch I had managed to retrieve from the table before leaving. The glass was destroyed, but the mechanism still ticked. It still kept time, even if imperfectly. I picked up the burner phone I kept hidden in a hollowed-out book. Patterson answered on the first ring. He was my lawyer and my oldest friend. He never slept. "It is time," I said. "Are you certain, Walter?" "There is no going back. I am certain. Execute the doomsday provision. Freeze everything. Drain the accounts. I want him to wake up poor." Patterson exhaled slowly. "What about you?" "I disappear tomorrow. I have a cabin in Montana that Derek does not know about. I will watch from there." "And Emma?" "We protect her," I said. "Whatever happens, we keep her safe. She is the only innocent one in this family." "Understood. By 9 tomorrow morning, Derek Hayes will be a man with nothing but his name, and even that will be worthless." I hung up. I looked around the cramped apartment. 3 years of humiliation were stored in these walls. The cold nights, when the heating broke, and Derek refused to fix it. The bland meals because my allowance barely covered groceries. The loneliness of being forgotten by the son I had given everything. I packed one small bag. I took the broken watch. I left a note on the pillow. "You said I was embarrassing you. You were right. An embarrassment should disappear. So I have. The company, the houses, the cars, the money. They were never yours, Derek. They were always mine. Now I am taking them back. Enjoy your inheritance. It amounts to exactly what you gave me for 40 years of love. Nothing." I walked out into the night. By morning, I would be gone, and Derek would wake up to discover that his kingdom was built on my permission I had just revoked. The morning sun hit the windows of the mansion at 7:15. I was already 300 miles away, watching through the security cameras I had installed years ago. Derek thought they were part of the home security system. They were actually my eyes. Derek stumbled into the kitchen wearing his silk robe. He reached for his phone to check his accounts, a morning ritual of admiring his wealth. I watched his face change. Checking account balance, $0. Savings account, 0. Investment portfolio, access denied. Corporate accounts, frozen by trustee authority. He dropped the phone. He picked it up again. He refreshed the screen over and over, as if the numbers would magically return. Monica came downstairs in her yoga clothes, ready for her private session with her trainer. "What is wrong with you?" she asked, annoyed by his panic. "The money," Derek stammered. "It is gone. Everything is gone." "What do you mean gone?" Monica grabbed his phone. She stared at the screen. Her face went pale. She tried her own accounts, her platinum cards, her shopping allowances. Declined. Declined. Account frozen by primary holder. She let out a scream that echoed through the mansion. Then the lights went out. The electricity, the water, the gas, everything was controlled through accounts linked to the trust. Patterson had been thorough. I watched them stumble through the dark house, using phone flashlights, screaming at each other. Monica was crying about her hair appointment. Derek was calling the bank, threatening lawsuits, demanding explanations. Then they remembered me. They ran to my apartment above the warehouse. They kicked in the door. They tore through the small space, looking for me, looking for leverage. Derek found my note. I zoomed in on the camera. I watched him read it. I watched the color drain from his face as he understood. He is the grantor, Derek whispered. He owns everything. He always owned everything. Monica slapped him across the face. You told me you owned the company. You told me we were set for life. I thought I did. Derek was shaking. The papers I signed. I thought it was a transfer of ownership, but it was a trust. I was just managing it for him. So we have nothing? Monica shrieked. 3 years of marriage to you, and we have nothing? I turned off the camera. Phase 1 was complete. The money was gone. Now came the dangerous part. I had taken their wealth. Derek would try to take something from me in return. I knew my son. He would not accept defeat. He would fight back with the only weapons he had left. Manipulation, cruelty, and Emma. Derek posted the video 3 days later. I was sitting in my cabin in Montana, surrounded by pine trees and silence. My phone buzzed with an alert. Someone had tagged me in a viral post. I opened it and felt my heart stop. Emma was on the screen. Her face was streaked with tears. Real tears, not the fake crying of a coached child. She was terrified. Grandpa, she sobbed into the camera. Please come home. Daddy says you are sick. Daddy says you forgot who we are. Please. Grandpa, I am scared. I want to see you. The camera pulled back slightly. I saw Derek's hand on her shoulder. His fingers were digging into her skin, pressing hard enough to leave marks. My father is suffering from severe dementia. The caption read. He has disappeared, and we are terrified for his safety. If anyone has seen Walter Hayes, please contact us immediately. He needs medical attention. Our family is heartbroken. The video had 50,000 views and climbing. Comments poured in from strangers offering sympathy, prayers, and tips about confused elderly men spotted in various cities. Derek had weaponized my granddaughter. He had hurt her to make her cry. He had turned my disappearance into a kidnapping narrative where I was the victim and he was the hero. I called Patterson. Did you see it? Patterson asked before I could speak. I saw it. He hurt her. He pressed on her shoulder hard enough to make her cry. I know. I have been analyzing the footage. There are bruises forming on her arm in the video. We can use this, Walter. I do not want to use it. I want to stop it. I want Emma safe. Then, you need to come back. Patterson's voice was grave. He is escalating. The longer you stay hidden, the more desperate he becomes. Desperate men do dangerous things. What do you suggest? We set a trap. We let him think he has found you. We control the location, the timing, and the witnesses. When he makes his move, we catch him in the act. He will bring Emma. He will use her as a shield. Then we separate them first, Patterson said. We give him what he wants, a target, a weak old man he can overpower. And when he strikes, we spring the trap. I looked out the window at the snow-covered mountains. I had come here for peace. I had found only the quiet before a storm. Get me back to Denver, I said, and call Judge Morrison. Tell him I am cashing in every favor he owes me. By the end of the week, I want emergency custody papers ready to sign. What about Derek? Derek made his choice when he bruised that little girl's arm. I am done being a father to him. Now I am just her grandfather, and I will burn down everything he has left to keep her safe. The lobby of Denver General Hospital was bright with fluorescent lights and the smell of disinfectant. I sat in a wheelchair near the information desk, wearing a hospital gown and a confused expression. To any observer, I was exactly what Derek expected, a disoriented elderly man, lost and vulnerable. Patterson had leaked my location through channels he knew Derek was monitoring. A concerned orderly who had seen the viral video. A tip about a confused patient matching my description. Derek arrived within the hour. He burst through the automatic doors with Monica trailing behind him. She was dragging Emma by the hand, and behind them came a man I recognized from the medical board complaints Patterson had compiled, Dr. Nathan Voss, a disgraced psychiatrist known for signing commitment papers for the right price. Dad. Derek rushed toward me, his face arranged into an expression of tearful relief. Thank God we found you. He leaned down to hug me. I felt him slip something into the hand of Dr. Voss. A signal. Voss stepped forward, reaching into his medical bag. I could see the syringe inside, the sedative that would make me compliant, the chemical leash that would allow Derek to guide my hand across power of attorney documents. Emma stood frozen near the entrance. Her eyes met mine. Grandpa, she whispered. Now, Patterson said through the earpiece hidden in my hearing aid. The side doors of the lobby exploded open. 6 police officers in tactical gear stormed through, weapons drawn. Police, everyone freeze. Drop the bag. Voss panicked. He lunged toward me with the syringe, desperate to finish what he started. A female officer tackled him to the ground. The needle skittered across the tile floor. Derek spun around, looking for an exit. 2 officers blocked his path. What is this? Derek screamed. I am trying to help my father. He is sick. He wandered off. This is a rescue. I stood up from the wheelchair. I removed the hospital gown, revealing the tailored suit underneath. I straightened my tie. Derek stared at me. His mouth fell open. Hello, son, I said. You look surprised. Dad. What? This is. Derek was stammering, his carefully constructed reality collapsing around him. This is a misunderstanding. I was worried about you. Dr. Voss is here to help. Dr. Voss is here to drug me, I corrected him. On your orders. You plan to incapacitate me and force me to sign over the trust. That is kidnapping, conspiracy, and assault with a deadly weapon. I pulled out my phone. I pressed play. The audio filled the lobby. Derek's voice, recorded from the security system in his home office, speaking to Dr. Voss 3 days earlier. We grab him at the hospital. You sedate him. I bring the papers. Once he signs, we commit him to a facility and throw away the key. By the time anyone investigates, I will have liquidated everything. Derek went pale. You bugged my house, he whispered. I built that house, I said. I built everything you have ever touched, and I recorded every conversation you had about destroying me. The officers moved in. They handcuffed Derek. They handcuffed Monica. Dr. Voss was already on the ground, zip-tied and bleeding from his nose where he had hit the floor. Emma was crying. A social worker appeared beside her, gently guiding her away from her parents. Daddy, Emma called out. Mommy, what is happening? Monica tried to reach for her. Get away from my daughter, she screamed. I am her mother. You cannot take her. I walked toward Emma. I knelt down slowly, my old knees protesting. Emma, I said softly, do you remember the story I told you about the watch? About your great-great-grandfather? She nodded, tears streaming down her face. He came to America with nothing, I said. No money, no family, just hope and a willingness to work. He built a life from nothing. And when things got hard, he did not give up. He kept going. He kept protecting the people he loved. I pulled the broken pocket watch from my pocket. I had replaced the cracked crystal with new glass. The old mechanism still ticked inside. This watch survived 100 years, I said. It survived being dropped on a plate at your birthday party. And it will survive this, too. Just like you will. Just like we will. Emma threw her arms around my neck. She held on tight, sobbing into my shoulder. Behind us, the officers were reading Derek his rights. He was screaming about lawyers, about false arrest, about revenge. Monica was crying about her reputation, her social standing, her ruined life. I blocked them out. I held my granddaughter. I whispered promises into her hair. It is over, I told her. You are safe now. Grandpa is not going anywhere. The courtroom was small and quiet. The emergency custody hearing lasted less than an hour. Judge Morrison had reviewed the evidence. The video of Derek pressing on Emma's shoulder, the audio recordings of the conspiracy. The testimony from the hospital staff who witnessed the attempted assault. Derek sat at the defendant's table in an orange jumpsuit, his hands shackled. Monica sat beside him, equally restrained. Their court-appointed lawyers looked exhausted and defeated. I sat at the plaintiff's table with Emma beside me. She was holding the pocket watch, running her thumb over the smooth brass case. Judge Morrison looked at Derek with undisguised contempt. In 30 years on the bench, the judge said, I have seen many cases of family dysfunction, but this is among the worst. You conspired to drug and imprison your own father. You physically hurt your daughter to manipulate public sympathy. You treated your family legacy like a personal bank account. Your Honor, Derek's lawyer attempted to interrupt. My client was under extreme financial stress. He was not in his right mind. Financial stress that he created by embezzling company funds. Patterson countered. We have the forensic accounting reports. Over the past 3 years, Derek Hayes misappropriated $4 million for personal expenses. Luxury cars listed as equipment. Vacations listed as site inspections. Payments to individuals who appear to be mistresses listed as consulting fees. That is a lie, Derek shouted. I earned that money. I ran that company. You ran it into the ground, Patterson said calmly. Revenue is down 40% since you took over. Employee turnover is at an all-time high. You inherited a healthy company and you bled it dry. Judge Morrison banged his gavel. Enough. I have heard enough. He turned to me. Mr. Hayes, do you have anything to say before I render my decision? I stood up slowly. I looked at Derek. I looked at the son I had raised, the boy I had taught to fish, the young man I had trusted with my life's work. I spent 67 years building something, I said. A company, a reputation, a family. I believed that legacy was about blood, that my son would honor what I created because he was my son. I paused, gathering my thoughts. But legacy is not about blood. It is about values. It is about the choices we make when no one is watching. Derek chose greed. He chose cruelty. He chose to hurt a child to save his own comfort. I looked at Emma. She looked back at me with those trusting eyes. But Emma, I continued, Emma still has a chance. She is young enough to learn different values. She is young enough to understand that family is defined by love, not by bank accounts. I intend to spend whatever years I have left teaching her that lesson. I sat down. Judge Morrison nodded slowly. Based on the evidence presented, he announced, I am granting emergency full custody of Emma Hayes to her grandfather, Walter Hayes. The parents' rights are suspended pending criminal proceedings. Derek Hayes and Monica Hayes are remanded to custody without bail. Given the severity of the charges and the risk of flight, he banged his gavel. Court is adjourned. The officers moved toward Derek and Monica. Derek tried to stand, but the chains held him back. Dad, he called out. Dad, please. I am your son. You cannot do this. I made mistakes, but I am your blood. Your only child. You cannot abandon me. I turned to look at him one final time. 3 years ago, I said, you promised to take care of me. Instead, you put me in a storage room. You rationed my food. You planned to lock me away forever. And last week, you bruised your own daughter's arm to make her cry. I shook my head. I had a son once. He died somewhere along the way, replaced by a stranger I do not recognize. Goodbye, Derek. I hope prison gives you time to find whatever humanity you lost. I took Emma's hand. We walked out of the courtroom together. Behind us, Derek's screams echoed off the walls. 2 months later, Emma and I stood on the deck of a cabin overlooking a mountain lake. The air was crisp and clean. Pine trees surrounded us like guardians. I had sold the company to a competitor who promised to keep the employees and honor the contracts. The money went into a trust for Emma, locked away until she turned 25 and proved she understood its value. The mansion in Denver was sold. The country club membership was canceled. The fancy cars and expensive art were auctioned off. I kept only 3 things: the cabin, the broken pocket watch, and my granddaughter. Grandpa, Emma said, tugging at my sleeve. What time is it? I pulled out the watch. I showed her the face. The old hands moved slowly, slightly behind the actual time. According to great-great-grandpa's watch, it is almost 4 o'clock. Emma giggled. That watch is always slow. I know, I said, putting it back in my pocket. But it has never been wrong about the important things. Emma looked up at me with serious eyes. Grandpa, she said, why did Daddy hurt me? I knelt down to her level. The question had been coming for weeks. I had dreaded it and prepared for it in equal measure. Your daddy made bad choices, I said carefully. He forgot what really matters. He thought money was more important than family. He thought power was more important than love. And when he started losing those things, he got scared. Scared people sometimes hurt the ones they love. Will he always be scared? I do not know, sweetheart. Maybe someday he will learn. Maybe someday he will understand what he lost. But that is his journey, not yours. Emma nodded slowly. Then she asked the question that surprised me. Grandpa, am I going to make bad choices too? I smiled and pulled her into a hug. Everyone makes mistakes, Emma. The difference is whether you learn from them. Your daddy never learned, but you are different. You are brave. You are kind. And you have a grandpa who will always be here to help you find your way. She hugged me back fiercely. I love you, Grandpa. I love you too, sweetheart. More than all the money in the world. We stood there on the deck, watching the sun set over the mountains. Somewhere in Denver, Derek was sitting in a cell, awaiting trial. Monica had already tried to cut a deal, offering to testify against her husband in exchange for reduced charges. Their marriage, built on greed and convenience, had collapsed faster than a house of cards in a windstorm. But I did not think about them. I thought about the future, about teaching Emma to fish in the lake, about showing her how to build things with her hands, about passing down the values that my grandfather had passed to me and that I had failed to pass to Derek. The pocket watch in my pocket ticked steadily, keeping imperfect time but perfect faith. I had lost a son, but I had saved a granddaughter, and in the end, that was all that mattered. I spent my whole life thinking that success was measured in dollars and buildings. I was wrong. Real wealth is the people who love you. Real legacy is the values you pass on. And real strength is knowing when to let go of the past so you can protect the future. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And tell me in the comments, have you ever had to make a hard choice to protect someone you love? I read every story.